30% is agreement, undue agreement, and 47 is still due unpaid for the customers. Project status, now this is the main issues is we have mainly the illegal connections is about 35% of these cases. Additional floor is about 47 percentage, and able to connect, unfortunately, I think by print it is not clear. It is 11% able to connect cases, and the other is the missing running charge and annual agreement and change of usage of type. The amount of money is mainly in IRBID government ROUs. It is all issues billed are about 1.3 million bills is issued. Approved for these about 700 millions. 700,000 bills GD is approved. In Bani Abeid and other ROUs is the figures is there. The project status, as I said, the data it is have 4 phases. These 4 phases is including handling and analysis. We have 72% of actual of completions. A pre-field survey, 80% we are finished. Field survey about 41 percentage. Okay, cash allocation is 13.5 is the cash allocations. Risk and challenge, this is the last thing. Alaikum salam. The main risk and challenge for this project is the SD systems database in terms of the entered information. Data has many shortcomings and lack of clarity, and consider as the main challenge to complete the related task, cleaning SDS system in high quality. New billing system implemented during project X7 instead of COBOS. Economic situation in Jordan, and it is affected in the collections. BBC project is implemented for the first time in the kingdom, so monitoring tool system required and needed time to decide, recognize, and adopt, and this is give us a long time to implement this monitoring tool system. Delay in the field survey work progress due to different reasons, such as difficulties in the filling the survey form and with the citizens, or the houses closed, or etc. any other reasons. And the last risk is the project cross-functionality with the Yarmouk in case of the calculations of the bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. The questions will come later. So, because Miguel is in a hurry a little bit, you have a flight to catch. Please, Miguel, you can start now.
Good morning to all. Good morning, Engineer Hashman Khaldoon. Thank you very much for coming. Your presence actually makes me nervous, because I meant to start by saying that I am a strange speaker, because I am not so much here to share with you than to learn from you. So, and this is not what you expect usually from a speaker who confesses his ignorance of the subject on which he is speaking. Okay. So maybe it won't go so bad. But why do I say this? And I will not be very long. But I represent the Union for the Mediterranean. International organization, 43 member states, of which Jordan is the co-chairmanship. And Jordan is thus the co-chairmanship also of the Water Expert Group, and we have a very close relationship with the Ministry of Water and Irrigation. Our job is, among other things, in response to a ministerial mandate on water from all ministers in charge of water in the Mediterranean, to devise a financial strategy that can be useful to enhance financing for the water sector across the Mediterranean. So what we do is collect information, collect recommendations from across the Mediterranean on what the financial challenges, and our chairperson gave a very synthetic and very useful introduction on the reality, of where those challenges lie. We collect the regional information, we collect it, and we are working with international financial institutions, many of them are here today, and with other partners to mobilize technical assistance, to mobilize collective knowledge, eventually to mobilize financing, but also to push towards a certain type of reforms which everybody knows are needed, but which are not easy to do, and to push together. Rather than have an entity which does not belong to the national consciousness, to do it from outside. And I think a union, as we are co-chaired by a southern country and a northern country, I think we have that capability. But I don't want to tell you this about philosophy, because my intention is to invite you to take part in the work that we are doing. And I'll tell you now how. For the Mediterranean, the issue of the financing of the water sector has always been, of course, a concern. The whole Mediterranean, north and south, obviously some countries worse than others, are more water scarce than others, but we are in a region, I come from Spain, which also suffers from irregular water provision, growing desertification in different areas. We all suffer from population growth, concentration on the coast, the issue of migration, refugees, in the case of Jordan, of course, the very major concern. Climate change is affecting all of us. Maintenance of the infrastructure is a major issue which was not addressed maybe in the past as it should have, and this is something which is catching up on all countries throughout the world. And we are looking to new sources of water for our population, including more expensive water, desalinization, water reuse, which has economic benefits as well. But in any case, in a way, the equation becomes more water equals money equals energy, rather than just water itself. So we need to look at ways of addressing these issues. And it is a common concern. And today, more than ever, the problems of water of your neighbor are your own problems also, because your neighbor's problems will have a repercussion on you eventually, for example, through the issues of climate change refugees, or eventually water refugees, which might also be the case. So what we have devised, working together with the European Union, working together with Jordan, but also with all the other partners in the Mediterranean, is a UFM agenda, a water agenda for the Union for the Mediterranean, for the Mediterranean countries. This includes a financial strategy which is not to impose on countries what to do, but rather a series of recommendations which we agree to try and do, and to work together to find the means to do it. The basic elements of that strategy are to approach water financing in a strategic way, to try and make best use of existing financial resources. The project that was just described is not talking about additional money. It is money which is not being collected. So this is an example. It's not always more money, and I'll mention this why in particular, and to mobilize additional domestic and financial resources. I think clearly this is very important, because outside, and we have great cooperation from many of the international donors, and GIZ, who's financing this, but international donors do say that, look, it's not all about more money. It is not more about having an international donor provide money. It is not even about national budgets raising the standard, because national budgets are also very tight for many issues. It is also, and this is why the international financial institutions, in the documents that we work together, and then we work with the countries, say, okay, we need to find ways to make better use of the money we do have, and that is part of the issue. So for this, we are talking about. Thank you. We are working to a certain number of strategic objectives, and I won't go into all of them because you can probably imagine it, but of course reforms to the water sector are part of it. Integrate water financing across water-related sector, a little bit of a nexus approach to the whole issue of water, to increase revenues internally collected, to use resources from international financial partners to leverage other sources of finance. We know, for example, that it is curious that the water sector has not benefited as much as one would imagine from climate finance. For people working in the water sector, it's like, where else would you put your money? The fact is that the water sector has not benefited to the level that one would believe. And there are reasons for this. Has to do a little bit with climate finance, the way it's structured, but also maybe the water sector has not adapted its project preparation capabilities to the complexity of climate finance, which requires a certain level of indicators benchmarking. So this is complex. But and what I would finish on, because I don't want to leave it at this very high level of generality, and you're all experts much more than me. We believe that this document, this strategy looking forward on what needs to be done at a general level, has to be brought down to the level of practitioners, to stakeholders. And we are fortunate to be organizing here with on the request and with the strong cooperation of the Ministry of Water and Irrigation, a consultation here actually here in the Dead Sea. I'm not sure where exactly, maybe in the same room, on the 19th of March, to take this financial strategy and test it, let's say, with your partners, the international financing institutions who are present here in Jordan, and many of them are your partners, precisely for the issue of financing, but also to deepen the knowledge that we as ourselves, that's why I said at the beginning that I'm here to learn, but for us to deepen the knowledge of the problems that not the ministry itself, but that the agencies, that the utilities, that the staff within the ministry, that the utilities and the networks of utilities like Aqua can put in, so that we have deeper ownership of that strategy, that we as UFM can take the lessons that Jordan has, the good and the bad, and share them with other countries. And we are thinking of doing similar exercises of national consultation in Tunisia. We have discussed with them, in Albania, who's also a member of the Union for Mediterranean, perhaps in Lebanon, to do this effort of having a very broad view of what is needed. So I will sit down now and go back to my role of learning from you, but I do want to leave with the message that a concerted effort to think strategically about water financing is not something only for ministries of water. It is for practitioners, for operators, because otherwise things will be lost. And I think there's a lot of people who are willing to make the intellectual, and then eventually you need to do the regulatory, maybe legislative, institutional changes, and then, inshallah, more money will be coming for the water sector, which we know is sorely needed everywhere. So thank you very much.
Bad, Harry. And you are claiming that you are not the expert. And to talk after you, that's a heavy task. Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Khaldoon, for the invitation. And thank you all for attending this session. مش حاطط النظارة أساساً.
Okay.
تم نقرا عنك حسين معك Good afternoon.
I'm the CEO of the Palestine Water Regulatory Council. The subject I'm going to talk about is that last year we have conducted an economic viability for our service providers in Palestine. One of the reasons is simply that almost 70% of those service providers are losing money, and they are accepting that. And the customers, they believe that service providers are making money, but in fact it is the opposite. They are losing money, and as if they have accepted that as it is a losing service. We have thought as a regulator on how can we help them at least obey the law which says that services should be at least self-sufficient, sustainable, and based on a full cost recovery as much as possible, even though depreciation is not being considered in the tariff structures. Just a short description of what we are doing as a council, as a regulator. We issue licenses for services, and that is targets for service providers to achieve by the end of the year. We look into tariff structures and make sure that they respond to both the customer as well as the service provider, that both their interests are taken care of. We inspect compliance with the conditions that we put in the license. We develop performance incentives for service providers to make sure that all costs are as they are within the tariff policy at least. Issue and disseminate the quality assurance standards, create database, and monitor water supply agreements, and addressing complaints. That's not an easy task, but at least we were able over the past 4 years to at least to handle most of them. The challenges that we face are severe, but to regulate a sector while the resource is not under your control, that is not at all possible. The resources are still controlled by Israel, and to claim that we are controlling and we are regulating, that's only within the available amounts that we have, to make sure that whatever we have, we make best use of that. And but at least the challenges are there. One of the challenges is that we are supposed to monitor all service providers. And when I say all, I talk about almost 500 service providers in Palestine. These are either municipal departments, village councils, few utilities, NGOs, almost 150 desalination facilities providers, and almost 72 wastewater service providers. We talk about almost 500 of those. Of course, of different sizes, different capabilities, and different readiness to be regulated. The financial challenges that these providers are facing, first is low collection efficiency. I'll show some examples, but when I talk about low collection efficiency, I talk about even less than 10%. When I talk about the tariff and cost elements, most of these were neither approved by an official body or were taken based on what cash expectations are there. A decision by a mayor or a municipal department, but not based on actual study of the cost components and structuring. The management efficiencies, we talk about some of the service providers, they have personnel which exceeds ways